What's up guys? In today's video we're going to be doing a 105 Greater Rift. We're going to be going through all the skis and gear changes that I've made since my last video. Let's crack into it. So first of all, we're doing this 105 Greater Rift with a Frenzy Barbarian. Just to remind you, the Frenzy Barbarian uses the Horde of the 90 Savages set, which the 2 set bonus doubles the effectiveness of all shouts, and you deal double damage to enemies affected by fears, freezes or stuns. The 4 set bonus is each frenzy stack reduces damage by 6% and frenzy lasts twice as long, and the 6 set bonus is frenzy deals 1000% increased damage per stack. We're using the full 6 set for this build, and all the gems are diamond in the set pieces. For the chest and pants, obviously you get your resist all, and on the helmet you get your cooldown reduction. We're using, for the weapons, we're using an Oathkeeper, which increases our attack speed by 50% and increases our damage of primary skills by up to 200%. And we're using a large emerald gem in the socket. We've also got a small augment on my Oathkeeper for this run, which is an 82, which is going to give us an extra 410 strength just for a bit more damage. Our other weapon is the Azurath. The main stats I'm looking at on the Azurath is the extra cold percentage damage, as well as the secondary stats. The 23.9% chance to freeze on hit. Because we're attacking so fast, it should be going off rapidly, and it will ultimately help us to trigger off our 2 set bonus. In our braces slot, we're using a Mortix brace, which allows us to have every rune of Wrath of the Berserker, which I think the braces are the best in slot. There's not too many other braces that really complement this build, so I think they're the king. Bit of a change. We were using a Flavor of Time. We're now using a Traveler's Pledge, which gives us a 100% increased damage while we're standing still, which is a lot of time when we're killing elites. We also get 50% damage reduction when we're moving. Mine's using a Bane of the Trapped at level 98, which is increasing our damage by 44.4% to any enemies under crowd controlling effects, which the Bane of the Trapped gives us a crowd controlling effect once it's above 25, and we're constantly stunning and slowing and freezing stuff as we move through the rift. On our rings, we're using a Convention of Elements, which is increasing our elemental damage by 200% if you can get in the right window of time to use it on the frost skill, on the frost rotation. In the socket, we're using a Bane of the Stricken at a level 100, which is giving us 1.8 damage, 1.8% damage increase per hit. As we're attacking so fast in this build, it stacks up really high really quickly, and ultimately helps us really down the champions really quickly. In the other ring, we're using the Traveler's Pledge's partner in crime, the Compass Rose. Mine got a really bad roll on it, so I'm not showing you it, just because it's a bit of an embarrassing roll. It's not ancient, it's just nothing good about it. In the socket, we're using a Simplicity Strength at a level 100, which is giving us 75% increased damage from our primary skills, and our primary skills also heal us for 4% of our maximum health, which is really handy for survivability in this build. In our final slot, we've got our belt, which is the Undisputed Champion, which increases the damage of Frenzy by up to 400% and gives Frenzy the effect of every rune. Our belt got a fairly decent roll on it. Hopefully we can get an upgraded one with a bit better stats, but so far it's pretty good. Incanized Cube. If you don't already know
Holy
about Season
God, damn,
20, we're
Batman.
able to put whatever combination of weapons, armors, rings, etc. into Kanai's cube. So if you wanted 3 rings, you can put 3 rings. If you want 3 armors, you can put 3 armors, etc. Or you can put 2 rings and 1 armor, or 2 weapons and 1 ring. And you can mix and match it, which is pretty awesome. My choices for the 105 Greater Rift: in slot 1, we're running the Depth Diggers, which increase the damage of our primary skills by 100%. Frenzy being a primary skill, which is, you know, we need it. So, in slot 2, we're using a Bastion's Reverd, which increases our stacks of Frenzy up to 10. And each attack will now chain to any enemies within 15 yards. This also gives us some AoE functionality. It is interesting to note that I tested this on an easier rift, and all the effects of the Undisputed Champion, giving us every rune, don't chain out to enemies within 15 yards. They only trigger on the primary target. What I tested specifically was the Smite rune, which gives us a 30% chance to stun for a second and a half. And that never happened outside of the main target for Frenzy, which I kind of think it should spread out. I think that effect should spread. In slot 3, we're using Band of Might. Our damage reduction, this is our damage reduction staple. Every time we use Furious Charge, Leap, Ground Stomp, we gain up to 80% damage reduction. Because it's in the cube, we get max, which is 80%. And that's, yeah, it's just our bread and butter for damage reduction for this build. Right, now you know what I'm using gear-wise, I'll quickly run you through the skills. On our main mouse click, we're using Frenzy with Sidearm, which sets our default damage element to cold. As we already gain the effect of every rune thanks to our belt, we're just after that cold element damage to trigger off the Azure Wrath and just trigger everything off so it slows and freezes and stuff. On our right click, we're using Threatening Shout with Falter, which gives us 25% increased damage to enemies. But thanks to our 2 set, it ends up being 50% increased damage because it doubles the effectiveness of our shouts, which obviously Threatening Shout is one. On our first skill, we're using Furious Charge with Merciless Assault, which reduces the cooldown per enemy hit. It also triggers our Band of Might for the damage reduction, so really good staple to have. It pretty much triggers on one enemy, so you can just basically spam it on one enemy, but obviously that just keeps your damage reduction up. It doesn't help you do any damage. On skill 2, we have Warcry with Impunity, which is giving us increased armor and resistance to elements by 20%, which again, it's a shout, so gets doubled up by our 2 set for 40% armor, 40% resistance to elements. Skill 3, we're using Battle Rage into the fray, increasing our damage by 10% and crit hit chance by 3%, and we also gain 1% crit hit chance for each enemy within 10 yards, again doubled by our 2 set bonus. Lastly, on skill 4, we're using Wrath of the Berserker with Insanity. We get every rune anyway, but thanks to the but we just wanted to trigger Insanity definitely, so we've got that one selected. In our passive skills, we're running Ruthless, which increases our damage by 40% to enemies below 30% health, which just really helps us tick down on, you know, the champions and the Rift Guardian when they start getting, like in this Rift, the champions were so hard to kill. You just need that extra damage once they get down low. Berserker Rage increases our damage by 25% while we're near maximum fury. This is a generated build, so we're always at maximum, so just raw damage. Brawler, which increases our damage by 20% while there are more than 3 enemies near us. which most of the time there is, apart from the Rift Guardian.
Next time, motherfucker, team says
And
something
lastly,
mighty.
the Boon of Bull Kathos, which reduces our Rapid Berserker cooldown by 30 seconds, which just gives us a bit more increased uptime on Rapid Berserker, which is really handy.
It is true. Tell Bill. I said, have a Coke and a smile. Shut the fuck up.
Eddie Murphy is funny as fuck. He would have to be one of the first comedians I ever like listened to. And it's probably because, you know, of Beverly Hills Cop. Axel Foley. Well, that was the wrong way. Why did I go that way, you dickhead? Why did I go that way, Broken? Be fucked. Well guys, this will be shortly the end of the video. I hope you've all enjoyed. If you have, make sure you drop a like and a comment down below, and if you really enjoyed the channel, make sure you subscribe. You can also check out my live stream. It happens every Friday and Saturday nights, 7 PM Australian Central Time. All the links will be down in the description. You can also follow me on Twitter if you really want. The link will also be down in the description. Thanks for watching.
Fucking just get out of my fucking face. You too, cunt.
Have you listened to Richard Pryor doing stand-up?
No, I haven't. I've heard parts of his stuff, but I've never watched to like a full